It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the pre-Thanksgiving edition. Gina Trapani has the week off to be with her family, but don't worry, Mathew Ingram is here from GigaOM, along with Jeff Jarvis. We'll talk about the latest move by the EU to break Google up. We'll also talk about the future of journalism, Pamplemousse's failed tour, and a whole lot more. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 277, recorded November 26th, 2014. F-U, EU. This Week in Google is brought to you by Jack Irwin. Jack Irwin sells men's shoes made from the finest materials at honest prices, and they ship them right to your door. Check out their shoe collections at jackerwin.com/twit. That's JACKERWIN.com/twit. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/twig. And by FreshBooks, the #1 cloud accounting solution that helps millions of entrepreneurs and small business owners save time billing and get paid faster. Try it free at freshbooks.com/twig and join over 5 million users running their business with ease. It's time for Twig. The weather outside is frightful, but inside the conversation's sure delightful. Mr. Jeff Jarvis joins us from the City University of New York. He's actually wearing a down vest, and he's got a Nexus 6 in his hot little hands. Hey, Jeff.
Hey there. Good to see you.
Great to have you. Jeff's going to a show, so we're going to make this show on, not short, but on time today. Get you out of here at 6 p.m. your time. Also joining us, Gina's out today, right? She's heading.
She's heading on a train.
On a
very long train ride to her in-laws.
To see the in-laws in Cleveland or somewhere. But
no, somewhere else, but I forget.
Remember. Yeah, somewhere in a flyover state, I believe. I love doing.
It's all a flyover state to you.
They're all flyover state. Germany's a flyover state to Jeff. Mm-hmm. Also joining us from GigaOM, he's in Canada, Mathew Ingram. Good to have you. Welcome. You are wearing a San Francisco t-shirt, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? We just blew him
Apparently, the default transition is an explosion. Sorry about that.
Mathew. That's fine. Well, you know what? It's appropriate because we've been talking about deconstructing the media before the show began, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. This show normally is about, actually nominally is about Google and the cloud, but it's normally about whatever we want to talk about. And since we have great journalists here, it's always the case that we kind of talk about journalism a little bit. Actually, let's kick things off with Contributor, which is an interesting plan that Google has for removing ads from some blogs for a fee. And I have to feel like this is an experiment. What is going on, Jeff? I don't. So the idea is you pay a sliding scale between $1 and $3 a month, and certain sites, the Onion, Mashable, Imager, WikiHow. I don't know why they picked these. Will get the chance to remove ads, put them a pixel pattern in their place.
Yeah,
just the Google ads.
Google.
Yeah,
I talked to a Google person about this before it launched. And she said they chose sites that don't get a huge amount of traffic because they wanted to sort of experiment and iterate. And I said, well, why would you pick Mashable then? It gets like 50 million unique visitors a month or something. But I guess they wanted to pick one big one and then a bunch of smaller ones. Actually, Imager gets quite a lot of traffic too. But it feels to me like just another one of those kind of experiments that they're trying to sort of, to help publishers out a bit. And I'm assuming they realize that for lots of smaller publishers, AdSense basically is chicken feed. And so I assume they're trying to think of some new ways to help them out. I don't feel like I think it's a noble gesture, and it's kind of a tip jar sort of model. I don't really see a whole lot of people doing it.
I think it's a sop. I think that we've seen Google and God bless them trying to do things, but I think that the things they've tried to do are trivial. They've tried to do micropayments before. I don't believe in micropayments.
Yeah.
They tried to help people rethink the story. That didn't work very well. And now they're doing this. This is not going to be a salvation. Google should bring its best brain, best strategy, its best technologists to this effort if they care about news. I was at Newsgeist, I think I mentioned a week ago, and we had a session on what should Google do, what could Google do for news. And there are bigger strategic things. They could enable embeddable articles. They could enable larger payment streams. There's all kinds of other things they could do. This is cute, but a distraction, not really worth the effort, I don't think.
What if you combine this with the Google Music Key, the move to allow people to pay for YouTube music videos and remove the ads? Is that a completely unrelated thing?
No, it's related
I think
to
it's
strategy, but I don't think it's going to
part of the same strategy.
too much.
Do you? I think it might be a response, though, to people who say, and a lot of people say this, including Google competitors, well, Google just is using you. You're the product, and so could this be Google's way of saying, well, what if we try it so that you're not the product?
I think it kind of says to the readers, put up or shut up. If you keep complaining, then okay, you can pay.
You don't want to be the product. You don't want to see the ads
anymore.
Matthew, what do you think?
I think it is a bit of a. I mean, maybe SOP is a little it's a little harsh, but I do think it's another one of those kind of little experiments that they try, like the survey wall, where you instead of having a paywall, you could ask people to answer a few questions. That apparently lots of sites are using it. Whether they're generating a lot of revenue or not, I don't know. I doubt it, but it's still. In a way, it's worthwhile. I mean, I don't see why. I kind of like the fact that they're at least experimenting with this stuff. This feels very much like what Readability tried to do although they went about it in a completely different way, but they tried to do kind of micro tip jar style payments. Didn't work. Google at least has the scale that it could theoretically do that. It's, to me, I don't know whether enough.
You and I both know that this is not, even if this works beyond everyone's wildest imagination and successful, it is no salvation.
No.
I go back to say that what Google should be doing, I think, is bringing, if they care about news, they can say, listen, we don't care about news. Don't give a damn. What happens, happens. But that's not what they hold news guys. They're in trouble with publishers in Germany, which we'll talk about later. They do care to some extent. And I think they got to bring their best brains here and minor ways to help them use Google functionality better or to create things like this, I just don't think are bringing full Google horsepower to this question.
Well, and if I'm one of these sites, what I might do is just say, well, I could also just crowdfund, go to Patreon or somewhere.
Yeah.
And control my destiny, get rid of Google ads. If that's what my readers want, I could do that. In fact, you'd make more money, wouldn't you? Google these you don't make much on AdSense.
No.
Ew.
And you're not going to make much on contributor. But at the same time, I do sort of feel like, they get a lot of crap for stuff they do, and at least they're trying trying to find new ways to help publishers who don't want to, just do crowdfunding or can't run their own paywall because they don't have the, they don't have the manpower or the resources. But it's probably not. I agree with Jeff. It's not going to amount to much at the end of the day.
Is YouTube Music Key that seems to be something a little bit, first of all, they're putting more horses behind it. This isn't an experiment. This is the real deal, although it is in beta. But if you have Google Play Music already, you'll have Music Key.
Oh, there's the dream of many sites that there's going to be a Mondo paywall, and then everybody shares revenue from that. And in some countries, the dream is it'll be a tax fee, like the BBC. But the problem is music is a unique property, and information is not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think. I mean, I think there's probably more YouTube creators who will be able to make, a significant or nominal amount from this, more so than websites that publish news content.
Is that the next step for Susan Wojcicki, to extend the model to YouTube content itself, besides music?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
She's kind of indicated she's thinking about it, right? Other alternative ways to monetize.
Well, it's also a way to compete with Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say I continually, when I don't consume a lot of content on YouTube, but my kids do, and their friends do, and friends' kids do. And every time I run into somebody, they tell me about some YouTube star who I've literally never heard of, who has 50 million subscribers.
Right.
And they, unbox makeup or something, or they talk about kids' toys, and you've never heard of them, and they have more subscribers than half of the TV network channels that you have heard of. It's a mind-boggling sort of, every time it strikes me when I have these conversations, I think it's pretty amazing in a way that some woman who we don't even know her name lives somewhere in Florida and makes $15 million a year talking about kids' toys on YouTube.
Yeah. Michelle Phan, who is the makeup, the YouTube star who does makeup tips, but I think a lot of her money she makes selling subscriptions to a monthly makeup sampler mailer. So this is I'm not sure, nobody reveals how much they make on YouTube exactly. So you're always speculating on this. But it seems like her model is actually kind of sensible, which is you get some money from YouTube, but you also view it as a promotional vehicle for other enterprises. It seems like the people who are making money, with the exception of PewDiePie and a few of the really big stars, most of their, or a significant portion of their money comes from other sources that YouTube fosters.
But if you look at, and so a good example of what you're talking about, I'm trying to remember the girl's name, Zoe something, and she's a YouTube star and is now, I guess, writing a book or publishing a book. That book is going to be a #1 bestseller, like literally as soon as she said that she was writing a book.
Right.
Because she already has this built-in community of millions of desperate fans.
Right.
So that book is going to fly off the shelves, or whatever, virtual shelves.
I feel like one of the things Susan Wojcicki is going to have to fight, and one of the things YouTube is going to have to fight, is the realization by the vast majority of YouTubers that they are not going to make much money, and that they are going to need to figure out something else. There's this dream of being Michael Jordan, but most of them don't get to play the NBA, and I think even a smaller percentage that get to make a lot of money on YouTube, and YouTube makes a lot of money on the long tail of people who are not making money, but YouTube is. And I feel like at some point there's going to be a come to Jesus moment for YouTube where they're going to have to provide some way for these people to make money or lose them.
Well, they're investing in, I went to the opening of their studio in New York. They're investing a tremendous amount in trying to get people to make content. They've got to do a better job. And probably what they have to do is reduce Google's share to increase the size of the network. And of course, it's not the only revenue stream for a lot of these people, as you just said. The musicians have tours, but then Jack Conte wrote a great piece on Medium of Pamplemousse and Natalie Dawn and Patreon fame. I put it on the rundown at the very bottom under numbers, but you're welcome to take it. And talked about the tour that he and Natalie just had and what they lost in the end. And it's sobering.
We had Pamplemousse in here. I think the world of them. Jack, who learned a lot by becoming a YouTube star, and they made money. They did Chevy ads and stuff. But he founded Patreon for that very reason. So they did a 28-day tour, and I remember when Jack and Natalie were here. They talked about this, and they said, in fact, I said, come back, promote the tour. 24 shows, 23 cities. They sold $100,000 in tickets.
I think they made about the revenue was 140 something, and they lost.
But they lost money.
17 million or 17,000, sort of.
They lost money on the tour?
They did.
And he says they could have gone out as a duo, but that wasn't what they wanted to do. And he says, well, I'm not complaining. We're very lucky we get to make a living from music. He says right out what they pay themselves in stipends from what they do. The rest they invest back.
It's a very detailed breakdown.
This is
really generous.
And I wish everybody would do this, because I think it would then be, what we don't have is this information about YouTube. I wish people would do the same thing for YouTube. Maybe YouTube prevents them from doing that. I don't know.
And to be fair, what they said was they saw this as an investment. You know,
they knew they weren't going to make money.
Right.
Right. They knew they weren't going to make money, but this was a way of getting themselves and their music and their name and so on out to more
Matthew,
people in different places.
It's a vicious circle, isn't it? Because we always say, well, they don't make money on selling albums anymore, but they make money on selling tickets. So now they go out and they make money on selling tickets, and they lose money on that to try to make money on selling albums, and they'll make it up in volume. You know, it's
but
a vicious.
To be fair, every rock band in history lost money on a tour or two, because this stuff is very easy to lose money on if you're not extraordinarily careful.
It's hugely expensive.
Yeah.
And actually, Bob Lefsetz, who's hilarious to read all the time about
the Lefsetz letter is so great.
Wrote a letter about Pamplemousse and about this piece, and I thought he was overly harsh because I don't think they were writing it to say, "Oh, poor us, we're not making money." In fact, they distinctly didn't say that.
Right.
But his point was, basically, you know, you're on your own. If you decide to do these tours, you have to either do them in a way that makes money or accept the fact that they're not going to make money. You can't blame anyone else for the fact that people don't come to your shows or don't buy your stuff.
Lately, I've been binge reading rock and roll biographies, and Graham Nash writes about Crosby, Stills, and Nash tour that I think David Crosby called a tour from hell. I can't remember what he called it, but they were all the tour from hell. They were all. They lost a ton of money, and the putting a record company into this mix isn't going to make things better for Pamplemousse. It's just going to make one more company sucking profits out of it. It's hard to do. It always has been hard to do.
And in fact, that they came that close to breaking even, I thought was a success. Like that, They did a pretty good job, you know, for people who've never put together a nationwide tour before.
That's a good point. They did it all on their own. Pretty amazing.
But it shows you, I thought he made a point partway down that, you know, which I thought was the sort of optimistic way of looking at what we're talking about. The industry has expanded in such a massive way. There's a whole middle category now of groups that can maybe not become super famous or super rich, but can actually make a living doing the things they want to do and connecting with their fans without a label. That's so sure they're not going to be Britney Spears, but they can at least do it. That literally wasn't possible before.
Yeah, there's a whole chain of value in creativity. I think I mentioned on the show before, I've been involved in this World Economic Forum project on post copyright, and in that chain of value, we need more ways to recognize the creation of value, like creating audiences and remixing and adding in, and more ways to extract value, like getting data about your audience and being able to sell tickets and things. It's going to have to be a new mix we figure out. And again, I want to make a point to talk about it when it comes to a creative, unique, entertaining entity like a singer or a movie or a novel is very different from the model of an information-based industry like news. But we've conflated the two because we think they're all storytellers and they all, you know, have attention and they all have time. But they're incredibly different models. They need to be incredibly different business models. And on both sides, they're disrupted and they need to reinvent themselves.
Although I think there is some overlap. I mean, someone like Andrew Sullivan, for example, in the Daily Dish, to me, I wrote a whole column comparing him to Amanda Palmer, because to me, the sort of model that they're both pursuing is fundamentally identical. I'm a musician, I'm a columnist style blogger writer, but I have a community of fans who adore me or hate me or some combination thereof and are fascinated with me and want to come to things that I'm involved with or want to buy things that are related to me. That, you know, one is talking about politics and one is music, but the sort of approach to that, to the community and how you derive value from that personal relationship is very similar.
You actually just wrote an article.
But he's in essence an entertainer, and it doesn't hold to me to go to straight news to find out what the grand jury's verdict was in Ferguson is not something you can control alone.
Right. But it to me, it reinforces the need for a sort of not pure personality, but a personal voice and a personal perspective, because that's what people connect.
Yes, if you can really do it and do it well. But to have the 87th take on the same news we already know, and to say my value is to add a little personality to that, that goes thin real fast. Now, I say that at a place where we're not doing any reporting right now, and we're just
by the way, that's exactly what you do, Jeff. So thanks.
But you do it well.
Number 87. You're only number 40. So
the top 40 make money, huh?
But the thing I like about Andrew's model and Amanda Palmer's model is it is just them and their fans. So that was why Andrew wanted to do the sort of direct crowdfunding or paywall or whatever you want to call it. He wanted it to just be him and his audience or readers or community. That's all that matters. No one else is involved in that relationship. So there's no intermediary, there's no, and there weren't even any advertisers to begin with. Just him and his community. Yeah. And if he serves them, he wins. And if he doesn't,
is he doing well?
Yeah, he's making $1 million.
Okay, that's well. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I mean, he's got a team, it's not just him, but I still think that's a substantial amount of money.
Why is this so okay? So how does what does this mean for others? Is this model? Andrew Sullivan had quite a following to begin with.
He did.
That seems to be a big part of this, right?
It does, yeah. Although one of the guys that I'm interested in is Ben Thompson, who I wrote about.
We love Ben
recently. Yeah, Ben, super smart guy. His blog is great.
That's by the way, and I'm glad you brought him up, because here's a guy who didn't have a following.
Exactly.
But because he's so smart, people like us, we've had him on Twit many times. People like you, a lot of people talk about him because he's so smart. So it's possible, not to start without a following, but you have to be exceptional if you're going to do that.
Well, I think what it amounts to is you still end up in what I would say is a blockbuster economy. You can support a certain number of stars. You, Andrew Sullivan, Thompson Fine, but there's only so much. It's harder and harder and harder in an abundant world to get up to that top level where you can make it work. Now, it's been true. How many musicians have there been, and how many have been supported? How many solos?
It's always been that way. That's right.
Right. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
Always been that way.
But the interesting thing,
I think we have a better. This is better than the blockbuster. Now. I think you can have more smaller successes to be the pie up bigger, right?
And I think Ben is a great example of that. Ben is a perfect example of Kevin Kelly's 1,000 true fans.
Right.
When I spoke to him recently, he had just crossed that threshold. So
his revenue comes not from advertising, but from selling a newsletter.
Zero advertising.
Yeah.
So just the newsletter, just access to his forums. I think there's advertising on the podcast, or there will be, but
he gives away a huge amount of content on his site, which is free.
Right. And so he's making on his sort of run rate right now. He is making a living for himself from 1,000 true fans. So that's the potential.
So $10 a month, $100 a year to subscribe to his daily newsletter. So it's very affordable. I'll compare that to Jessica Lesson's The Information, which is $400 a year.
$400, right? And so is he making a killing? No. Is he hugely wealthy? No. But he's a guy.
Living.
He's making a living, and he is one guy. There's no one else.
Yeah.
So what has enabled him to do that is the web and social media and all the tools, cloud tools and all the things that have allowed startups to grow and prosper with lower costs. Just the barriers to entry are a lot lower. Everyone is not going to be able to do that, but your ability to do that is far greater than it used to be.
Is it kind of a meritocracy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Ben Thompson, before he started writing his blog, maybe a few people knew him because he was a PM at Apple or Google or whatever, but he was virtually unknown. And then he started writing smart analysis of tech topics, and there's always going to be a hunger for that. He's made it harder for the next person to try and do the same thing, because now he's I don't
know if that's true. I think that To me, there's a real close parallel to the music industry, where the era of the platinum artist making hundreds of millions of dollars is over, or maybe not, but it's less important. And what that does mean is that many more artists, even Pomplamoose, can make a living doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's preferable to me. That's preferable to the other way of doing things, but regardless of whether it's preferable or not, it's kind of where we're headed. I think the only real concern was that no one would make a living.
Mm-hmm. I know when I first wrote about, I don't know if it was Ben but I mentioned the 1,000 True Fans idea, and I got an email from someone, a musician, who had been inspired by Kevin Kelly's post, which was years ago now, and he said that he was effectively doing that. The only thing he pointed out was that it's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than just getting signed by a label and they send you checks and you have a handler who takes you around places and whatever. Like you have to
get that deal is tiny.
Right, exactly.
Your point a minute ago is there are more people who can be the independent and scrape by a living with really hard work than there were people who could make a living in music before.
How hard do you think Taylor Swift works these days?
She works pretty hard.
I think she works pretty hard.
Yeah.
And she has all the benefits of a major label, managers, social media managers, no doubt. But to be really a success these days, I don't care who you are. I think you need to work really hard.
But I would agree that we've still got the big hits. We've still got Taylor Swift. We've still got, big artists.
Those don't seem to be going away.
Multi-million seller.
Yeah.
No, but there's more room in between.
Exactly.
In between them and the sort of starving artist at the bottom.
You don't have to get the label, the record label deal. Reading, I really enjoyed Keith Richards' book, Life. And he says, we were all struggling, in England to get that record deal. That was all we lived for. Every moment, that's what we lived for, because that's the only path to success. Now there are many paths to success. That's good, right?
Definitely. In fact, you could argue Amanda Palmer, by telling her record label to get lost and doing what she wanted to, is far better off.
Well, the Dresden Dolls were kind of an arty group, right? I mean, they weren't ever going to be platinum.
Yeah.
No, and she has a book out now about just this model, about giving people the opportunity to give.
But I have to say, there is no one path, and I love that. And everybody's writing the book, well, this is how I did it. And the truth is, what's great is there are as many paths now as there are people, and that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it should be. It means there's opportunity. It doesn't mean you don't have to work hard.
Amen. But the generosity of Jack Conte and Amanda Palmer in sharing how they do it. And sharing what they do.
Well, that's part of the ethos, isn't it? I think, and that's what bothers me a little bit about YouTube is it's such a black box. I'm glad to see Jack Conte giving us the info, and that's what we do here at Twit. And I think that's the ethos, and it's important because it's not. Look, Twit is no model for anybody except me, but I think it's good for people to see the inside guts of it so that they can think about their model.
But there are lessons there. Even if you don't kind of replicate what Twit does. Right. Hello, Jason Calacanis. There are lessons and models in what you do, and people can steal the best of it. It's right for them.
Yeah.
And there are good. I mean, Amanda Palmer has talked about some of the difficult parts of her model. She got a lot of criticism for her tour, inviting people up to play and not paying them. That turned into a big deal. She talked about that quite openly. She talked about where the money went. I think once you kind of make that leap to crowdfunding or having your fans support you, it's incumbent on you to talk to them and sort of be open about those things and discuss those things. Yeah, transparency.
I would argue that now everybody is dependent on their community. That's pretty much the way it's always been, but we just didn't know it. And you cannot hide, and transparency is good. I just read an article. I guess it was on Slate about poor Jennifer Lawrence, her career is mirroring Katniss's career in the Hunger Games. It's kind of the involuntary, she didn't know what she signed up for. She said, I knew that the paparazzi would be annoying. I didn't know they'd be terrifying. And, and then some people make it. She's making it because she is able to somehow survive all the attention, the scrutiny, the terrifying events, and be an interesting human. Maybe she's not authentic. She feels very authentic. And that's going to be going forward. I don't care if you're in the old, blockbuster movie model or in the modern community-funded, independent artist model. That's going to be going forward, I think, a requirement. That's why Taylor Swift has to work her butt off, because she's posting on Instagram and tweeting, and she's out there. And the old invisible stars are not going to make it anymore. They're not going to play.
And I think Jeff and I definitely agree. I think we agree that media companies of all kinds have to, and in fact, journalists, I think, have to be much more aware of the relationship that they have with the readers.
Precisely.
If they have one, and if they don't have one, they should get one.
Get one soon.
Because it's super important.
That is the lesson, isn't it?
Well, that's Mathew. Your book should be there my book should be there any day, and that's exactly what I'm arguing. Is it's about a relationship-based model.
Yeah,
right.
I think if there's a one common thread in all these different models, it's that.
And I know this sort of ties into what we were talking about with Facebook and how media companies and individuals even are kind of relying on these platforms to do a lot of the work for them and to sort of reach a community. And I've had people say, well, what should you do if you're a media company and Facebook basically controls how people see your content and you have no say over how that happens or even any understanding of how it happens? And my only response has been, you have to be able to give your readers and your community something that Facebook cannot. Facebook can give them a link. Facebook can give them lots of other stuff, but Facebook can't give them what you can give them, which is a personal connection with them and other ways of kind of pursuing that relationship apart from just clicking on things on the internet.
Facebook is just one instance, though, of a whole lot of copyright has broken apart. Patents were breaking. The things that we used in the past traditionally to protect a creator and to guarantee them a revenue stream, those things don't work anymore. And modern things like Facebook they're ultimately going to break. So it all comes down to building a community that you're in relationship with, and that will transcend these other broken models like copyright and Facebook.
Right. And I think when I worked for a newspaper, the model was, if you were a person like me, was get X or Y job with X or Y publication, and then you're set.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a platform, you have a distribution channel that you control, you just get to say whatever you want, the end. Then you just cash your checks and go home.
Mm-hmm.
And that just doesn't work anymore.
I find this exciting. It's always disruption. This kind of disruption is always tough on people. But I think that ultimately I hope this is leading to what we thought the internet would be all about, which is democratizing media and giving everybody an opportunity.
Yeah, that's what I celebrate. Yes, and
I hope that's
listen,
definitely
the first newspapers came in 1605. Sorry, breaking game time, guys. 150 years after the invention of the Gutenberg press, and the first ones all failed. They didn't have a business model. They didn't know what they were doing. It was hard. Newspapers fell by the wayside one after another, and then figured it out. And then along came the steam press, which helped a lot. But it took time to get the models. It took time to figure it out. We're nowhere near where we should be.
No.
Be.
I mean, the consumer web, is barely, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. So you expect it'll change again?
I think it is still changing.
It's going to constantly change.
Yeah.
Will there be, though? I mean, is it fair to say that building community will be always a key? Authenticity?
I think it will be because, Amanda talks about this all the time. She was a busker before she started, being a professional musician. Busking has been around, probably since streets were invented. And so, that's the original model. You play and people throw things in your case. It's, you just have, now the street is infinitely long and you can theoretically reach lots of people. There's also lots of other people doing the same thing.
Yeah, she was a bride in Boston. She'd stand on a box. She was a robot bride and would bend down. And I mean, her TED Talk is a great introduction to that, and I would like to see the other stuff that she's done.
And one thing about Amanda, like not everyone can do what she does. She takes her connection to her fans to lengths that I'm not sure.
She goes to their homes and sleeps in their beds.
She has parties where, like some of the things she did for her Kickstarter for the record, where she offered private listening parties and performance parties, and afterwards she would take all their clothes off and people could paint her with paint. Well, not every artist is going to be comfortable taking their relationship to that extreme. Right. That's what she wants to do.
That's the other part of it. You have to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
That's authenticity, I guess.
I have also tried that, by the way. But
nobody wanted to paint you, huh?
No one was interested.
Forbidden visual, Matthew. Now I can
and I was allergic to the paint.
No.
It was.
I find this stuff very interesting. If you're just tuning in, Gina has the day off. She's getting ready for Thanksgiving. I hope you all are. Well, you've already had your Thanksgiving, Mathew, last month. I hope you're all planning.
The real Thanksgiving.
The real Canadian Thanksgiving. What are you doing, Jeff?
Oh, sticking around.
Yeah. No turkey for Lisa and me. We're going to a 49ers game.
I heard the call for you to have a turkey dog tomorrow.
I'll have a turkey dog. Yeah, I'll have a turkey dog. Our show today brought to you, we'll have more with Mathew. I love getting Mathew Ingram and Jeff Jarvis on, and I apologize for those of you who are tuning in for information about the latest Nexus phone, because whenever we get these two together, we're going to talk about stuff like this. But I think if we do add value, it's not regurgitating the latest news stories, but it's doing the deep thought stuff where we kind of think about what it means and what it means for us and, for all of us. And I think that stuff's important. And then to the extent that we do that, I think we create original content. So please forgive us. I want to talk about shoes. Shoes make the man, Dad always told me that. He said, always get a shoe shine before you go to a meeting. And nowadays, you look at people, we're all wearing sneakers. Here's an opportunity to stand out with some great-looking, beautiful shoes that will make you look stylish. Sarah Lane was telling me yesterday on iPad today or actually because it was Monday, that guys, women look at your shoes and they judge you by the shoes you wear. So how about jackerwin.com? Some beautiful shoes from Jack Irwin. These are my new shoes from Jack Irwin. Now, what's great about these are shoes that would normally cost you $800 to $1,000 in a store because it's all Italian leather and it's handmade. And these are handmade in Spain. These are works of art. They're gorgeous shoes. The kind of shoes when you see somebody walk down the street in them, you go, you actually notice those are nice shoes. Look closely at the finish, the soles, the uppers, hand-stitched leather. The quality is there. And Jack Irwin is disrupting the men's shoe industry by creating a luxury brand, but at non-luxury prices. That's because they cut out the retailers and they sell directly to you. Shipping is free. Returns are free. In fact, when you buy at Jack Irwin, and I encourage you to go to jackerwin.com/twit for our holiday picks, when you choose the size, subtract one full size from your shoe size to order. So if you wear a size 10, buy the size 9 because Jack Irwin doesn't skimp. They don't skimp on the size. Normally I wear a 9. I got 8.5s. They're beautiful. Look at these. These are the ones I can't wait to wear to the holiday parties. These are wingtips. Beautiful shoes. Again, the leather soles. And every Jack Irwin pair of shoes comes with a nice shoe bag for travel, some extra insoles as well. And we're talking prices that are 1/4 to 1/3 as much as the high-quality, fine men's stores that you'd go to. You go into Barney's, you're going to spend a lot more than if you go to jackerwin.com. And, of course, many of us can't even get to Barney's. Buying shoes should be fun. The experience should be memorable. The quality should be right. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't stop smelling these. They smell so good. That's because nobody's worn them. I'm saving these.
So you put them on, fella.
I'm saving these. But God, look at these boots. I love these Chase boots on the website here. Those look so nice. I wasn't sure. I don't know if I'm a boot man. But I think, look at it's a suede. Oh, I just love these. jackerwin.com/twit. Offerings are limited and they change frequently. So if you see a pair you want, buy them. Don't wait. Trust me. They won't be there long. These are all in limited supply. But that's how they get the price down. That's how they get the quality up. And I want you to try them right now. jackerwin.com/twit. JACKERWIN. jackerwin.com. twit. I can't wait to go to the holiday party, our twit holiday party in my Jack Irwin shoes. We thank them for their support of Twig. We're happy to say that Apple has buried the hatchet. Apple had purchased, along with Ericsson, Sony, a couple of Microsoft, had purchased the Nortel patents. Apple put $2.6 billion into those patents. Their consortium outbid Google and paid $4.5 billion a few years ago for the patents. And then the partners, Microsoft and Apple, formed a company called Rockstar up your way in Canada. Actually, I think they're on the West Coast. And they were what we call euphemistically a non-practicing entity. And that means a patent troll, my friends. In October last year, Rockstar sued Google, handset manufacturers like HTC and Samsung, Android handset, saying that they had infringed 7 Nortel patents. Actually, in the case of Google, all related to search engine technology. Google and Rockstar have settled. And I have a feeling that Rockstar's also settled with the handset makers, including Samsung. This is Apple finally saying, okay, enough of the thermonuclear war. It's done. And I think this is very, very good news. Cisco has signed a term sheet with Rockstar. It looks like it's over.
We don't know what the settlement was, though, right?
Not for Google. For Cisco, we think it was fairly hefty because they said they're taking a $188 million charge. But I don't know if there is any money changing hands for these other ones. I think it's often thought that just Apple either lost its stomach for the lawsuits, or maybe more likely realized it was hurting Apple. The lawsuits were revealing stuff about Apple that they didn't want to have revealed. And they weren't winning outright. And even in the Samsung case, they didn't get the money they wanted. So I think that's what's partly happening, is that these companies are seeing that this is bad for business, all of this patent trolling.
I'm glad to see somebody making some money off Nortel Networks.
Was it a Canadian company? Is that why the Rockstar's in Canada?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nortel was huge.
Oh, I used to have a Nortel phone.
Yeah, it was a gigantic part of the Canadian economy.
Oh, really?
And it flamed out in spectacular fashion.
Phones haven't been too good to Canada over the long term.
No, BlackBerry, Nortel.
Yeah. But Nortel definitely had, like, Nortel Labs did some of the early groundbreaking work on networks and telecom, all sorts of stuff.
It's not that those patents weren't real.
No, they were definitely real.
Yeah, it's just that I believe Apple and Microsoft were using them anti-competitively. They were trying to put other companies out of business. Not that Samsung does the same thing in the other direction, by the way.
Right. Everybody does it. It's thermonuclear war.
Let's just stop now. It's not good for us end users. Because so much money is poured into this litigation instead of into innovation.
Right. And there's lots of, it's hard to sort of argue based on what hasn't been created, but you can certainly imagine lots of interesting things. Right. Someone owned a huge ton of allegedly related patents.
Right. Oh, I think there's startups that die stillborn all the time because people realize that they would be sued out of existence, and they just say, you know what, we're not going there.
And for a long time, when I was writing about tech companies and stocks and as investments, advisors were telling companies, look, you have to have something proprietary that is patentable or has been patented, or you have to buy something just so that you can wave it around
defensively.
Defensively, exactly.
Yeah. Where was it? What was that article I was reading about Apple where lawyers would come to the engineers and say, okay, what have you done today? And then the engineer would say, well, I did this. Oh, that's patentable. What else? And they would be filing patents on everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's patentable. It's because, and I hope that this happens too, is it's because of these process patents and these software patents that don't have anything to do with physical machines.
Yeah, they're an abomination.
Yeah. Google has turned on the .Google TLD. currently it redirects to the Google registry. Google also owns .ads, .dad, .fly, .how, .new, .move, .rsvp, .eat, .soy, and something in Japanese. I don't know what the heck that is.
Translate it.
Oh, yeah, should I? Let's see. I think if I just paste it into Google, it translates stuff like that, right?
Anybody have?
Yeah.
Oh, great. That's not helpful. Okay.
No, just type translate in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trans. I'm sorry. You guys know how to use this thing, this Google thing. I'm still learning.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. Translate that. Everyone.
Hey.
Everyone in Japanese.
Okay.
.dad, .esquire, .here, .meme. So.
I don't get it. Maybe I'm just not smart.
Well, I don't get why Google's doing it, frankly.
More and more crowded.
Yeah.
And it's territory.
By the way, soy, please don't think it's about the bean. It's Spanish for I am.
Right.
So Leo.soy would be I am Leo, right?
So like .me or...
Yeah. They say it's the new web for U.S. Hispanics. And there it is. Yeah, Japanese. Everyone in Japanese. And the first domain in hiragana.
.dad, though. I mean, really?
Well, I'm a dad.
I know.
Fathers
would
know
you get
best.
it something called .dad
Not dad.
or .eat or...
.foo. I want Leo.foo. Oh, it's developers. It's for developers.
Yeah.
Well, do they have
Sure,
bar?
Foo would be fun.
They have foo and they have boo.
But .rsvp, what is the purpose of that?
Oh, well, for an invite.
Invitations.
Yeah.
But it serves no purpose.
I know. But all the good .coms are gone. So
I guess.
have they opened up? Oh yeah, you can trademark owners can apply for .soy domains in the sunrise period. That was July through September. Then September through October, anyone can apply for .soy. That's the land rush period. And now we're in general availability.
It's just a giant ICANN money grab.
It's not Google, it's ICANN that makes the money on this, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's some .soys. Interesting. Oh, these are other registrars you can go to. What is? I seem to remember that some of these are not actually TLDs. That I don't know how this works, but that they don't necessarily work at all DNSs.
Really, I thought they did.
Well, they ought to,
that was
because
the
otherwise that
point.
breaks the web, right? But I think, well, I don't know. I don't know how it goes. .google is a brand TLD. Remember ICANN? That was the ICANN thing where if you have, a couple $100,000 lying around, you can get your own domain. Right. So I could have gotten .twit. There's .apple.
.lego,
Yeah.
.ferrari.
Yeah. Apple, BBC, Intel, FedEx, and Heinz among the brands. .google has gone live. But who wants to type something .google?
I know.
Well, nobody.
Well,
nobody.
the better they own it than somebody else does.
Maybe that's the idea.
Or .heinz or .dad.
Yeah, I'm not going
one
to
is gonna do
57 .heinz.
Do you remember .mobi? Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Whatever happened to that?
Yeah, we had a big discussion at the Globe, the newspaper I work for, should we register a .mobi address? Well, no, because no one uses them.
Right. And in fact,
they exist.
you don't really
Most people
want a
just redirect them
mobile-only
in.
site. You want a site that's mobile-friendly,
Right.
but yeah.
Right.
You can't keep track of the web. You just can't. It moves too fast. So the GOP and Breitbart have tricked Google. Tell me about this, Jeffrey.
Oh, just a minor thing that it's what we used to call that when you'd
Google bombing.
pile all kinds of
Google
links.
bombing.
Right. So Breitbart was just happy that Google that if you search for what do I have to use?
I think King of the USA.
Yeah.
USA.
King of the
It's
United
minor.
States. You'll get. Well, to be honest, to be fair, we did this to the left. Did the King of the United States. Ask Google who is king of the United States, and they will inform you. This is funny because this is actually a knowledge graph that refers back to the Search Engine Land article about
how to Google bomb.
The Google bomb.
The Google bomb, yeah. So it's just it was minor.
That's bizarre. All hail King Barack Obama, Emperor of the United States, says Breitbart. And they said it enough, I guess, that Google said, okay. But for some reason, when I get this story from a Mediaite, it's got a picture of Darren Wilson next to it. So I'm now really confused about what's going on.
That is confusing.
The photo algorithm does screw up.
It screws up a lot, yeah.
They're just pulling a random photo.
Random photo. All right, so Google bombing still exists.
Yeah, that's all.
What are you going to do?
Hey, that's interesting. I just learned something. The second link on when I did that search was Prince Henry of Prussia, who apparently was at one point suggested as candidate for king of the U.S.
Oh, well, so there's a little history for you there. Yeah. Google Fiber, if you're lucky enough to have it, in Austin, you dogs, will be $70 a month for the gigabit service, but
the basic service, Leo. This is the amazing part to me.
There'll be 5 megabit per second, 5.1 basic service for free.
Free.
Wow.
You'll pay a $300 build fee, and then you'll be on the internet for free.
That's aimed straight at DSL providers because 5.1 is kind of a typical DSL speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
For which they charge $20 to $40 a month. So free.
It says there's a construction fee of $300 for setup. Yes,
but amortize that over a couple of years, and then it's free from then on.
Yeah, and it goes to Google's business model. The more you use the internet, the more Google makes. Full stop.
Yep.
So
now, $70 will get you a terabyte of cloud storage, 1 gigabit service, $130 a month. You will get TV channels as well, and a DVR that will record up to 8 shows at once. I imagine it's a cloud DVR.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it started in Kansas City, a lot of fanfare, Provo, Utah, Austin. They're planning to go to Phoenix, Arizona, and Nashville, Tennessee. Do you think this is now a business for Google, that maybe they're going to roll this out everywhere? I know at first it was just to rattle the cages of the ISPs.
You can really run it like a business.
Feels like this is growing.
I don't see why they wouldn't roll it out. I mean,
that would make me happy.
If it's getting more people online and
they've got the capital. It's capital intensive for the build, but Lord knows they've got the capital. It's a way to put it to work, and they get a higher dividend than anybody else because you're using the internet.
Right. They have a business model around this that makes sense. Compared to T-Mobile,
who does?
The more you use the internet, the more they don't like that. They have been reducing if you went over your cap.
Try to stop.
They've been reducing you to 128 kilobits or even 64 kilobits, unless you ran a speed test and they would say, "Oh, the speed test, quick, turn it up."
You're kidding me.
No, that's dirty.
For real?
It's not legal anymore. They're now going to have to tell you. The Federal Communications Commission investigated, and they made T-Mobile. The T-Mobile's agreed that they will actually send text messages to customers that will tell them exactly what's happening and that their speed is, has been reduced because they exceeded caps.
So they wouldn't tell people.
Well, the worst, no, not only would they not tell them, but they would lie. They would turn it up on the speed test.
That's mind-boggling. That sounds like a conspiracy.
Companies trying to do the right thing and make a whole big marketing push about how we're the uncarrier. That's a very carrier move.
Well, and they exempt some streaming music services from download caps, from data limits. That's that fast lane prioritization we've been talking about.
Neutral.
One of them, by the way, Google Music, and the other Xbox Music. See, this is one where you go, and SoundCloud too as well. This is where you go, God, well, that's great. But it's not really great, because if you're not Google or Xbox or SoundCloud,
you're screwed.
It's anti-competitive. Actually, they now do 27 streaming services. So maybe the goal is to sell more T-Mobile, accounts than to actually make money off of these guys. Pandora, Rhapsody, iHeartRadio, iTunes. Samsung has something called Milk I've never heard of. Very poor name, by the way.
Yeah.
I've got the milk service. Slacker, Spotify, Grooveshark, Rdio. There are now 14 new services, including Xbox, as we mentioned, Google Play, SoundCloud, Radio Tunes, digitally imported Fit Radio, Fresca Radio, Jazz Radio, Live 365, Mad Genius Radio, Radio Pup, Radio.com, Rock Radio, and Savin. I think you could probably say that this is no longer, or it's pretty clear this isn't a way to make, to do fast lane prioritization, but really it's just to make T-Mobile more desirable.
Right.
If you let everybody in on this, then you're not really choosing winners and losers. And AT&T does the same thing, by the way. But yeah, so from now on, if you're... See, I am a T-Mobile customer, and you know what they say? And I ask them again and again, unlimited. Yeah, it's unlimited. Truly unlimited. Yes, truly unlimited. Well, it is, except that after a certain point, they throttle you to 64 kilobits.
Right.
That's not limiting it.
It sort of feels like it is, though.
It kind of feels like you don't want to use it.
I've had it happen a couple of times.
Have you?
And it is, it's practically unusable.
Yeah. It's like 2G.
Yeah. Like maybe technically it falls into the category of, well, we're still giving you data, but
It's like
you're
dial-up.
not.
Right.
What was the limit that you crossed, Jason?
Because I'm on the $30 plan.
Oh,
which
you have
is
that low.
Which
but
is
see,
five gigs of data a month.
Okay.
And then once you pass that, then you get throttled down.
Okay.
And yeah.
5 seems right in
tells
that
you that,
area
right?
where you probably hover around 5, but sometimes you
Yeah,
go lower.
exactly. It hasn't, I've had that plan for a while now,
Yeah.
probably a little more than a year, and I think it's happened to me twice. So.
But
This is why
they
I still
told you
don't
that
give
was
up
going to
on
happen.
my...
Right?
Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, they tell you right out that, it's unlimited, but after you pass 5 gigs, you're going to be throttled down to slower speeds.
So
But,
I pay for the $70, I think it's $70, $80 a month, and they say, no, it's unlimited, so I'm not going to get throttled. I've never been throttled, so I don't know.
I bet you will, though.
I bet I will. I bet unlimited.
There was actually a court case in Canada, Rogers Communications, who I use, or Robbers, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
They actually went to courts and got a decision that said they could call something unlimited even if it wasn't actually unlimited.
Rogers is the worst.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Is AT&T's grandfather unlimited truly unlimited?
No, I don't think anybody's truly unlimited. I think
was a
unlimited
grandfather
unless you go over 5 gigs. Hey, I want to talk about Euro Techno Panic. That's the new Leipzig.
It's a new band.
It's a new band, Euro Techno Panic. Jeff Jarvis spoke about the Euro Techno Panic at Zeit. We'll talk about it in just a second. First, a word for personal capital. Personal capital is designed to make it easier for you to save for your future, whether it's retirement, buying a house, just saving up for a rainy day. The problem, of course, is it's hard to know what your money's doing. First of all, they're all on different accounts, on different websites with different passwords. And it's sometimes hard to tell whether you're paying, how much you're paying in fees. They hide all that stuff. If you're having somebody management, how much are you paying them? You're probably paying too much. Personal capital makes it easy by getting all your account information in one place on a single page so you can see where your accounts are, where your assets and liabilities are. You can use it for budgeting, but you can also use it for planning your investments. They'll even tell you, and by the way, this is on Android, this is on iOS, this is on your desktop. They have an Android Wear app, which is so cool, so you get notifications on your watch. And then they'll let you know if your 401k is overpaying in fees or it needs to be rebalanced or how to optimize. You can get tailored advice on optimizing your investment. Best of all of this is free. It takes up a few minutes to set up, and it will pay you big dividends. Personal capital, we love it. It's free. I've been using it for a couple of years, and it's so cool. And it's a smart way to grow your money. And what's really nice is to get your Android Wear watch say, oh, you made $800 today. What? Yes, you did. Not so nice when it says, oh, you lost $800 today.
Jeff, are you okay?
Jeff?
Yeah, no, I lost my camera. I got to call you right back.
Okay. His camera fell off his setup. Okay.
And we were just about to read his
Euro Techno Panic.
The translated version says, instead of fighting Google, shoulder stand. Shoulder stand is not a term.
Shoulder stand.
Yeah, sure.
Stand on the shoulders of giants.
I guess.
So the story starts with the a kind of, I don't think a serious plan, but Europe, the European Parliament, somebody there suggested, it turns out that somebody might be a lawyer for some of the big German publishers, like, what is it, Springer?
Axel Springer.
Axel Springer proposed that Google should be broken up into smaller companies. I have to be fair.
I have no power to do that.
They can't do that. But I have to be fair. I often said, I wish Google weren't in the content business with YouTube. I wish Google were in the flight business with ITA. It kind of muddies the waters if they're a search engine, that they also own some of the results that they will turn up. I understand the concern about that.
I get that much, but it is an absurd thing, and it's purely political.
Yeah.
And even the new head of the of digital for the EU said this ain't happening. He said that would be an action for a planned economy, not a market economy. And he's been trying to hit the drum beats against Google, but it's gotten absurd in Europe. And I wrote a 3,000-word essay, warnings, folks, a 3,000-word essay on Leistung, Schutz, and Recht and such. And the backstory here is that I went to the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, which has been the leader of techno panic. They wouldn't run it, but my good friends at Die Zeit, which is a far better newspaper anyway, it's online, did run it in German and in English. Both links are on the rundown.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's just kind of what I said was that I think that Europe is becoming a hostile environment for technology. You add up all the things we've talked about on this show in Germany, plus the Spanish link tax, plus the right to be forgotten, plus the EU on these efforts to force the EU into breaking up Google. Who the hell would go invest in Europe? So I go on about that. I go on about techno panic. You've heard that spiel before. But then at the end, I do criticize Google for saying I don't think they've done enough. They need to. Even though they legally do what's right about taxes, they got to solve that. They haven't been open enough about the NSA. Even if I believe them that they're not cooperating, they still need to be more open. They should be investing more in technology companies in Europe to create a technology environment there. They should be doing, as we discussed earlier, real things to try to fix and help the news business, not necessarily the incumbents, but news as a society. And what I hope for is a return to kind of the wonder of the old days of World's Fairs and such. But I just see that, it's all added up in Europe, and it's a pretty frightening picture when you get right down to it. And so this is my effort to bring it all into one place. If you really have nothing to do after dinner tomorrow on Thanksgiving and want to take a nap, this is the way.
Fix your mic. I think you're using your laptop mic. Pope Francis agrees with you. Did you know that he addressed the European Parliament, the Council of Europe in Strasbourg, and he called Europe an old, infertile granny?
Wow. Burn.
Ow!
Yeah.
Ow! Pope Francis said Europe should stop treating people as cogs in a machine. Europe is aging and weary in many quarters, the Pope said. We encounter a general impression of weariness and aging of a Europe which is now a grandmother, no longer fertile and vibrant. As a result, the great ideas which once inspired Europe seem to have lost their attraction, only to be replaced by the bureaucratic technicalities of its institutions.
Wow.
Says the head of the most bureaucratic and oldest institution in Europe, the Pope. You've got a big ally here, Jeff.
Jeez.
Got a problem when the Pope is criticized.
Say that.
If the Pope calls you a granny,
infertile granny,
an infertile granny, I'm liking this Pope. I got to tell you, he's not like any Pope I can remember.
No, he's a new worlder.
He's in something. Men and women are risk being reduced to mere cogs in a machine that treats them as items of consumption to be exploited, with the result that, as is so tragically apparent, whenever a human life no longer proves useful for that machine, it is discarded with few qualms, as in the case of the terminally ill, the elderly who are abandoned or uncared for. Oh, here we go. Here's the Pope I know and love. And children who are killed in the womb. Had to throw that one in.
There we go.
Had to throw that one in. Wow. Okay. So you're in good. You're in good. You're a good partnership
good
there.
Company.
Yeah, good company. Google
St. Jarvis.
St. Jarvis. I wonder. He's coming to the U.S. I wonder what he's going to say to us. And you, Google. Europe may be an infertile granny, but you're like a granny in hot pants. I don't know what he's going to say, and I don't know why he had a Jewish accent.
Yeah, I was going to say you had a Borscht Belt comedian. Like Billy Joel was Pope now, or Billy Crystal.
Oh Lord!
And another thing.
Google has been pushed to extend the right to be forgotten request to Google.com.
This is truly appalling. So this is Europe saying censor the entirety of the internet, including ours. And if that precedent is set, by the way, what's to say that Iran and China and popes and lots of others don't say you're going to censor the net to my lowest common denominator of freedom? This is why this right to be forgotten is so fakakta, so, pardon my Latin, is so wrong. It's just so wrong, and Europe is so wrong to think that it should rule the net.
But they've seen the problem that you can have the right to be forgotten, but if it's just forgotten on, .br, then you just go to .com and there you are.
As I often say about this, Europe of anywhere on earth should be cautious about the idea of erasing history and telling people what they're not allowed to know, for God's sakes. And now to spread this beyond the borders of Europe, to tell the rest of the world what we're not allowed to know. All I have to say is F you, EU.
Get that on a T-shirt.
It's good. I like it. F you, EU.
There's a show title.
I think you got a show. Thank you for doing that. It'll save me a lot of time at the end of the show.
It's a little too ribald for Twit, but that's all right.
I don't know. I think we could do it. I'll have to think about it.
I mean, that's the biggest issue, though, with the whole right to be forgotten. It sounds like a great idea, but then who decides who has the right to be forgotten and who doesn't?
Right.
Who decides what things deserve to be forgotten? Then you have some sort of antiquated court system deciding this needs to be forgotten, but this doesn't need to be forgotten. It's
not the court system, Matthew. It's they pushed it over to Google, and now they don't like how Google's doing it, so they're telling Google you have to forget more. You have to forget more places. Forget.
And I have a feeling, I don't know this, but I have a feeling that Google kind of deliberately, made it seem more dramatic when it first started forgetting things.
No, I think that's cynical, Matthew.
I think you don't think they tried to come up with one?
The court decision is terrible. Google doesn't want to do this. They're going to do it to the minimum they have to do it. Of course they are. What are they going to do? Go at it and be aggressive? They, bring together a panel of experts to advise them. They treat it far more seriously than I would have treated it. I would have done the absolute minimum. I would have torpedoed it every way. They're trying not to. And again, I was just critical of Google in all kinds of ways, but I'm not critical of them on this. I think that's wrong.
Well, I'm glad we have a Canadian on for our next story because Canada has a Twitter account and it's not sorry.
That's the greatest tweet I've seen in ages.
@Canada is a verified account on Twitter, so I guess it's actually Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the tweet. @Canada, by the way, they know what they're doing. They started it with a dot. Does not apologize for this new Twitter account. #sorry, not sorry. Retweeted 3,438 times. Favorited 2,331 times. Actually, make it 2,332 because I'm favoring in this too. What is that all about, Mathew Ingram?
It came as a surprise to me. I saw it earlier today, and I thought, I didn't know that. I didn't know Canada was on Twitter. Someone told me they were subtweeting The Verge. I got to check that out.
Subtweeting The Verge?
Yeah, that sorry, not
here's
sorry.
Here's the pinned tweet at the top of their profile. Canada's now on Twitter, eh?
Yeah, I wish they hadn't gone with that one.
Why are they perpetuating Canadian stereotypes?
Well, especially ones that aren't true. Like, not a lot of Canadians say that. But it's very popular.
Yeah. I guess it's self-deprecating, right?
Well, it's Canadian.
Yeah, which is great.
And apparently they want this Simpsons picture to be
yeah,
a Simpsons kid in a Mountie outfit.
This is why I wanted to move to Canada. I love a nation that that has an official sense of humor.
Yeah. So they've only got a handful of tweets here. The first one was, at Canada will aim to capture the interest of audiences beyond our borders. #digital diplomacy. Then at Canada will act as a shop window for everything that makes Canada the best country in the world. #digital diplomacy. And then Canada does not apologize for this new Twitter account. And then they're saying Ralph Wiggum should be the profile picture. And then Canada's now on Twitter. This is just weird.
It's great.
I love it. Who do you think is doing this?
I don't know. I'm trying to find that out right now.
It's not. Is it the Prime Minister?
He's trying to find a dude right now. Sorry, Matthew. Couldn't help.
By the way, if you want, there of course you couldn't have at Canada without at O Canada, which is the French version of it, and it's exactly the same.
There we go. So The Verge did something about it and said Canada has just joined Twitter, and whoever's running it could have said sorry for being late, but didn't. And so that's why at Canada said.
But the whole thing is kind of humorous. By the way, is this the equivalent of A is ouais? Au Canada est maintenant sur Twitter. Ouais. That's the A? Ouais.
Boy, it takes a lot of letters in French to make an
A. Ouais. I love it. I love it.
I wonder if we'll do. Have you ever watched At Sweden?
No.
So at Sweden, they periodically, it's the official country account. Periodically, they hand it over to just some random Swede who then tweets as some are hysterical.
This is it.
Some of them are
a new
disturbing.
Swede every week.
Yeah.
And she, Tanya, is taking over the Swedish national Twitter account right now.
It's a great idea, but it has backfired sometimes.
Well, her tag is on being Russian in Sweden, sex, psychology, dancing, clothes she wears, and student orchestras. This, I can't imagine even Canada going this.
No, me neither. It's a great idea, though.
Wow, that's very egalitarian of Sweden.
They gave it to someone. This was, a couple of years ago now, who started saying anti-Semitic things.
Oh dear!
So that was uncomfortable.
That didn't work out well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a twitter.com/USA? And am I going to get trouble if we go to it? There it is.
Is there?
Yeah. But that's not a verified account. So it's not really USA. Who doesn't love pie?
I guess anybody could just set one up. I don't think there's any.
There's no. What are you going to do? Reserve the country names?
But I don't know who did it. Like, I don't know if it's a ministry or something.
Yeah. Well, somebody.
I will look into it.
Somebody did it.
I will call my friends.
Would you get on this?
In Harper's office.
Canada has a Twitter account, and Mathew Ingram is on it. Let's see. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we go to our picks of the week? Samsung Galaxy S5 only sold 12 million units. Kind of a flop for Samsung. Samsung's really actually struggling a little bit.
They do seem to be
in the Android market.
They seem to be all powerful. They were going to take over the phone market. And again, this is part of the story to even Google is that kind of power doesn't last forever.
Well, and raking in money. I thought Samsung was making billions. What happened to that?
What happened to that? And Jeff and I both have, as does Jason Howell now. We've all got our Nexus. You've had it the longest, though, Jeff. In fact, we did a weird unboxing last week right after Twig because it arrived.
2 minutes after the show ends, the doorbell rings and there's my Nexus 6.
Yeah,
so I came back on the chat before Leo had run off, and I couldn't get the phone call to work, so I was using my old phone to show opening the new phone.
Well, what do you think?
Should I get one?
One problem I had was my wonderful, wonderful car holder thing was too small.
Yeah.
It was that big.
Yeah.
Luckily, this is the plus size.
Oh.
So I went and got a new one of those. Yeah, it's big, Battery life is fine. I think it's better engineered. I mean, things like Bluetooth that didn't work so well in my OnePlus One are working beautifully. Screen is
camera?
gorgeous.
Camera's very good, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Lollipop is working well.
I'll show you some pictures. I haven't taken a lot of pictures. I've only had it for a few days. It is a, 13 megapixels?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Let me...
Because that was my criticism with the Nexus 4 was the camera was just...
Yeah, no, this is... well, if that's what you're comparing it to, it's much better than that. The question is how it compares to... Let's see, all photos. How it compares to the Galaxy Note 4, which has an excellent camera, or the Droid Turbo. It's better than the... Here's a daylight picture. I think the colors are very accurate. The detail is excellent. I think it's a good camera. The camera app is... well, here's one thing that it is pure Lollipop, pure Google, and it is there. Many of the Moto X features are not on there, so that's. I mean, if you like the Moto X always listening and all that, you can't change the phrase. It has to be OK followed by Google. Oh, even when I did that, it went off. Because
Kevin Toffel, our mobile guy, was saying he just bought the Moto X, and because he's gotten so addicted to the Motorola stuff.
Well, I have too.
The assist stuff that he just uses it all the time, especially in the car or,
But this is a much better screen, a bigger screen. Here's a comparison of the three, actually. The original Moto X on the left, the 2014 Moto X in the middle, and you can see how much bigger the Nexus 6 is. It's significantly bigger. It also lacks some of the beauty of the Moto X design. But it's a better battery life. It's 2560 by 1440 screen, so the screen is amazingly crisp. I like the real estate. Do you like the real estate, Jeff? I mean, you're not usually using such a giant phone.
I like it. I mean, the OnePlus One it's wider than the OnePlus One. It takes that little bit of use. Yeah. But my old eyes. No, I like it. I'm still using my Nexus 7. And if you compare the size of the two,
it's pretty close.
Hugely different. No, that's big.
Yeah.
You can see though. There we go.
Here's a low light photo. This will give you an example.
Is it pocketable?
This is in a darkened restaurant, and I think it's very good.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think it's very good. This is Michael's birthday party in a Mexican restaurant.
Can you put it in your pocket, Jeff?
Yeah,
I can.
Yes,
I can.
It hangs out a little more than a regular phone would, but it's as tall as the OnePlus One was.
I wish the battery life were as good as the OnePlus One. That's my only really.
But have you had a problem yet?
Yeah, it doesn't go all day. But I want it to go from when I unplug, and actually, by the way, having wireless charging is very nice. But I want it to go from when I unplug at 7 a.m. to when I go back to bed at 10 or 11, and it doesn't do that. In fact, this is a particularly bad day here. I unplugged about 8:30, and it's supposed to go to midnight. I guess maybe I'll get a full day out of it. Yeah.
Really? I never get a full day.
Yeah, I don't find that. Yeah, that's.
I never get past dinner.
If this went as long as OnePlus One, and if it had, I know it's a pure Google experience, so it's not going to have the Moto stuff. But I love that Moto stuff. The flipping your wrist to launch the camera, and the knowing when you're driving, knowing when you're sleeping. Kevin
said he uses the voice activation all the time. So
and I changed mine to help me Obi-Wan Kenobi, which meant that it didn't go off by accident. This one goes off more by accident.
Yeah, someone sitting next to you can say, "Okay, Google," and
well, you do. Okay, now one thing Lollipop does let you do is train for your voice.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah, that's new. Jason, you just got it, so you can't really comment.
I just got it, but I got the white variant, which could be why I ordered day one and only just got it this morning.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was the white 64 gig. So
this is a 32 gig, and it has more free space after the operating system than any other 32 gig phone I've used, including the Moto X's. So I have had no trouble with lack of space on this at all.
And there's no card slot?
No card slot, no removable battery. This is kind of I liken it to it's the iPhone of Android phones. It's kind of pure and beautiful and simple. Doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but it feels elegant and nice in the hand, I think. And It's kind of a pure Android experience, like the iPhone might be a pure iOS experience. Not that there's a choice. I actually, I feel like this is kind of elegant. I do like Lollipop.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So with 32 gigs, I think I had 27 free. I had a lot, which was nice because that means, I put a lot of audiobooks on here and some music. And I take a lot of pictures. So anyway, yeah, so we all have our Nexus 6. What do you use right now, a Nexus 5, Matthew?
I've got the 4, believe it or not.
Yeah. So you're due.
Yeah, I'm definitely due. Yeah. I'm trying to decide.
The other one to consider is truthfully the Galaxy Note 4.
Really?
Yeah, because it has a removable battery. It has SD card. Really a good, arguably the best Android camera. And they didn't cruft it up as much as they have in the past. However, it is not a pure Google experience by any means.
Yeah, that's why I went with the Nexus. I wanted pure Google. I didn't want a lot of crap.
Then you should get this.
Yeah, or if you're thinking about the Moto X, they're actually they announced that they're going to have a sale on Cyber Monday through Motorola's site.
Yeah,
$140 off an unlocked Moto X, which brings it like $350 or something like that, which is
$350.
Awesome
Pretty
for that
cheap.
device.
Or 1 penny if you go to Verizon and get it subsidized. So it's free on Verizon, basically. Our picks of the week coming up in just a bit. By the way, iFixit gave it a very high repairability score. They said if you can pry it apart, the Nexus 6, you need a spudger. But once you get into it, it's very easy.
It was
to
something
repair.
like 18 screws or something like that.
They said it was very tedious. 21 screws.
Yeah,
It was very
21,
tedious
there
to
we go.
unscrew all the screws.
Yeah.
However,
I'd take that over glue any day.
Everybody says if you want battery life, get the Sony Z3, the Xperia Z3, because it's got remarkable battery life, and it's a 1080p screen. That's part of the reason.
Yeah.
I did not like the Z2 that much.
Yeah, I've heard great things about the Z3.
I know. I might have to get one. Might have to get one just to test it. But that Moto X at $350, that's a good deal. Our show today brought to you by FreshBooks.com. Of course, you hear that conversation that we just had in microcosm of the full show every Tuesday with Jason Howell, Gina Trapani, Ron Richards at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the fabulous All About Android. That's what they talk about the whole time.
For 2 hours.
And it's still not long enough.
Actually, more like an hour and a half, but yes.
You could talk forever. Because Android is exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. FreshBooks Accounting is exciting. This is a cloud accounting solution that's from Canada. I discovered this. Amber MacArthur told me about it. When I was working for Rogers, I was going up there once a month for 5 days to do a call for help. And I had to invoice them in Canadian dollars. And I was using Microsoft Word. So kind of I wouldn't invoice them for months at a time. And then I'd send them all the invoices at once. And they didn't like that very much. Amber said, Leo, try FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the easiest way to invoice clients, to organize expenses. I had to do that too, to track your time online. And with FreshBooks award-winning mobile apps, you can do it all from anywhere on your Android or iOS device. FreshBooks users get paid faster. On average, FreshBooks customers double their revenue in the first 24 months. They're paid an average of 5 days faster. You might say, why is that? Well, I think partly it's because it's easier to invoice, so you invoice on time, and partly because every invoice, the email invoices have a pay me button that makes it really easy for your clients to pay. Plus, automated late payment reminders eliminate those awkward emails and phone calls, which I like. FreshBooks integrates with your apps, too. Google Apps, PayPal, Stripe, MailChimp, Fundbox. You can record billable hours and track your team's time on the go. In fact, you even get free auto billing with FreshBooks in-app online payments. #1 customer support team in the world. The FreshBooks supports rock stars. Will give you support free forever, and you will speak to a real-life human every time. It's really a great service. Tina Roth-Eisenberg, founder of Creative Mornings at SwissMiss.com, says, FreshBooks not only makes me look professional, it saves me a huge amount of time. I love it. I used it for a long time until I had my own company, and then I could hire people to do this for me. But when you're a solo freelancer, man, this is a lifesaver. We're a small business. Actually, visit freshbooks.com/twig right now, and you can try it free for 30 days with no obligation. FreshBooks, freshbooks.com/twig. Just do me a favor when they ask you, how did you hear about us? When you see that form, put This Week in Google in there, if you would. Give Jeff and Gina a little credit. freshbooks.com/twig, 30 days free. I swear to you, you will say, where have you been all my life?
It is a great service. And
You
I would
use it?
just like to point out, I have used it. I am a user. And I'm also Mike McDermott, the founder, is an old friend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Super.
Are they in
guy.
Toronto? Where are they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of the co-founders of Mesh, the conference that I'm involved with up here.
I was so happy. I was just really happy when I discovered it. That was 2005, 2006. I've been around for a while.
He ran it out of his parents' basement
That's so
for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And he actually started it. He's an ultimate Frisbee player, and he started it because he was running ultimate tournaments, and he needed a way to invoice, and all the ways that he could use were broken. So he just came up with his own.
It was actually good because that's the other reason I really liked it. I could bill Rogers in Canadian dollars. I know we're still doing the ad. Aren't we? Thank you,
Put
Jason.
that back up.
I could bill Rogers in Canadian dollars, and then my other clients in U.S. dollars. The multiple currencies makes a big difference. It really was a lifesaver for me. Well, good. I didn't know he was a friend of yours.
Let me know, and I'll email Mike. And
is he still running it?
Yeah,
it's a big business now. They got 5 million customers.
It is a big business.
That's really great. But because they're Canadian, they're still nice.
Very nice.
Here, look at him. Is Mike in that picture?
Is Mike in that picture?
Maybe that's the team, the support team. That might be the support team.
Yeah, I don't think he's They have a great space though. That I've been in that office.
Yeah, not in his mom's garage anymore. That's for sure.
No. I think they raised $30 million or something.
Yeah. It's a really neat story. On Golden Avenue in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Jeff Jarvis. Oh, wait a minute.
Can I go
Normally,
first and then leave?
Yeah, because you got to get out of here. You got a show to go to.
Google has rented America's biggest billboard for a couple months in Times Square, and the resolution is 2,368 by 10,048.
And they put the B together, not the same. Well, yeah, that does seem low, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not quite. It's a little bit bigger than my phone, but not much. But remember, Retina depends on how far away you are. Unless you're standing right next to the billboard, you cannot see the pixels.
So you can also make your little own Android and appear on it.
Oh, that's neat.
Which would be fun.
That's one thing that's kind of fun in Times Square. A lot of those billboards are interactive in some way.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's on the Marriott Marquis there.
So I apologize. I'm going to run off.
Thank you, Jeff.
Happy Thanksgiving to the Americans. Always good to see you, Matthew. And I apologize for running. It's snowing here.
Okay. Enjoy your show.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Have a great time. Jeff Jarvis, professor of journalism at the City University of New York, author of What Would Google Do? Public Parts, and his newest, Geeks, Beware Geeks Bearing Gifts.
Bearing Gifts.
Reimagining news, just kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Really a must-read if you're interested in the future of journalism. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thanks much.
Take care. Matthew, what have you been using? Anything you want to tell us about lately that you like?
Well, I've actually been using Google's Inbox for a little while.
Me too. What do you think?
Well, I have to say I like it. I like it a lot more on mobile than I do on the desktop, and maybe that's deliberate. I mean, maybe that's kind of what they were going for. It's really easy to swipe through things and mark a whole bunch of things as done with the check mark, which I really like. So, I don't scroll through 35 kind of email newslettery things. I just archive them all instantly, and I like the ability to pin things and to set time. Say remind me tomorrow about this thing because I know I'm going to need to know about it, but it doesn't have to clutter up your inbox. I think I have some issues with the UI. I don't really like the colors and the sort of some of that stuff, but functionally I really like it.
I feel like it's the early days on this.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first app that's ever got me to Inbox Zero, ever. So for that, I'm very grateful.
See, I'm kind of OCD about that. I reach inbox zero all the time.
Yeah.
Not every day, but I have to. I actually was talking with Craig Newmark about this, believe it or not. When I was in San Francisco, we had coffee, and he admitted that he was sort of OCD about email as well. And I have friends who are the opposite. Like they have 25,000
That's me.
messages in their inbox.
That was me.
And so I can't even conceive of that. Like if I have anything more than a page, I start to get anxious. So inbox is a great way of dealing with it. It makes it a lot easier.
I like these previews. You can see them on the screen if you're watching the video. That if it's a YouTube video, you can actually play it in the mail.
Yeah.
If you want to track a package, you just tap the link. If you want to view the map, you just tap the link. I find this very elegant and simple.
Well done.
There's a lot missing. I would love to see. There's no signatures. It's kind of a little bit of a missing piece, but I would love to see encryption or some form of signing, because I really like to sign. You do a digital signing of my email so that people know it came from me. Right. A few things like that, but boy, I tell you, I think they got the right thing. You can delay an email till another time, but you can also delay an email to another place. Did you know that? Is that something they added?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So look. So here, I'll show you. Here's a email from John C. Dvorak saying I should sue the Washington Times for their new news podcast because it's TWT. So I can snooze this. So I click the little clock, and I can, there's some pre-baked things later today, tomorrow, next week, someday. That's a getting things done thing where you just put it off kind of.
Interesting.
But you can also pick a
place.
Pick a place. So for instance, I could say, I'm going to handle that when I get home.
Right.
And I could put my home address in there, and all this email would disappear until my phone sensed that I was home, and then it would say, okay, and it would show up again in the inbox.
That's very useful.
Yeah. I feel like I would like to see faster iteration on this, but you get the feeling this is a fairly serious enterprise for Google, so I'm sure we will see improvements. And
that's a cool feature.
Yeah. Isn't that neat? It's kind of like reminders. That's another. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say they do the sort of sorting is quite good.
Yes.
So all travel related stuff is in one. That's pretty smart. Like the 3 tabs in Gmail, I didn't find was granular enough, and they've done a good job of kind of categorizing things.
And you can add your own. So I have, for instance, email from Twit is its own mailbox, so I can go through those very quickly.
Archive them instantly.
Yeah, throw them away right away. Yeah. I highly recommend it, and I think it's getting easier to get invited to it. A lot of us inbox users have received new emails, new invites, I should say. So ask your friends.
I didn't actually get invites for. I guess maybe they have a time limit where you have to use it a certain amount before you get invites. Because once I got it, I said, "Oh, hey, let me know if you want me to invite you." But I didn't get invites for about a week.
They have to make sure you're serious.
Yeah, exactly. Had to use it, but I like it.
Yeah, very happy with it. I have to say I've gone back to using Agent, and we've mentioned this before, and I'm sure you have on All About Android. But I was saying I don't have the Moto X features on my Nexus 6, but Agent adds most of those features and does not seem to hurt the battery life too badly.
What's Agent?
So Agent is really great. On Moto X, it's situational awareness, so it knows when you set your sleep times, for instance, and it will make sure it doesn't disturb you. That's the simplest one. This does something that actually Google Now does, which is records your parking spots based on Bluetooth and motion, or Bluetooth or motion. But if you're in a meeting, as I am right now, and so it'll take your calendar. This is what the Moto X does. It'll refuse calls. It'll send a text. You have your choices. You can say who can ring you, who can vibrate you, or you can say, if you wish, I'll send a text saying I'm in a meeting right now. Actually, I say I'm on the air right now. But if it's urgent, text me urgent, the word urgent, and then Agent the next time you call will let you through. It also knows when you're driving and will read you texts. This is most of the capability of Moto X's, what do they call that? Situational awareness is what I call it. So I like that a lot. And Agent
is it
free.
built in?
No, no. And that's the thing is It is built into the Moto X, but this will give you a lot of those features. And it also has a nice widget, which I use, where if I'm in a meeting, I can tap the widget. If it doesn't know that I'm in a meeting, I tap the widget and it puts me in meeting mode. Message agent will continue to run until you manually stop it. Meeting agent, I should say. So that's Agent. It's a free program. Somebody told me about. I know Jason knows it.
I love it. It's one of my favorite apps this year for sure.
And it makes the Nexus 6 better, I think. There's still things missing. I still can't do this. But I think that's kind of the baseline of stuff from the Moto X I really want. So highly recommend it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this edition of This Week in Google. Mathew Ingram from gigaohm.com. I am so grateful to you for joining us this week, filling in for Gina.
Thanks for having me.
The timing was good, this conversation about the new journalism and so forth, and I highly recommend Matthew's articles at GigaOM about that topic and everything else. He's really,
thank you.
Really one of the best. Thank you. Thanks to Jeff Jarvis, too, for joining us. Jeff and Gina will be back next week. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2100 UTC on twit.tv. Watch live if you can. If not, on-demand audio and video at twit.tv/twig, youtube.com/thisweekingoogle, or you can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, or you can use one of our great Twit apps. We didn't write any of them. All are written by our volunteer third-party developers. They all do a great job, and it's on every platform: iOS, Android, Windows Phone, Windows 8, Metro Store, and on Roku, which is nice if you like to watch on the big screen. So however you watch, we invite you to do it each and every week. We're glad you're here. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time on Twig.